the 6 marathons in 6 days on 6 continents. Walk us through how that idea came about and then how you planned it out and what the journey was like.
I always had this idea that I should go climb Mount Everest. It was like the hardest, biggest thing one could ever do. Well, you got to take off like 3 months from work, and how am I going to do that? So I always had this idea that I needed to do some kind of big adventure. I had been reading about these people who had done 7 marathons in 7 continents in 7 days. But what they did was they did it in a charter. They would start in Antarctica, and they'd have a chartered plane, and they would go from location to location. And it wasn't easy by any stretch of the imagination, but it was a lot less effort. You just paid your whatever $50,000 and you went. And you could only do 7 continents if you start in Antarctica, because you can't fly there commercially. I'm like, I know the people around the world. I know how to run marathons. I know how to fly. I mean, I'll be a passenger, of course. And like, what if I did 6? I was like, oh, that sounds like a good idea. 6 marathons, 6 continents, 6 days. And then I floated it down by a bunch of people, and they're like, you're crazy. Like, could you? You shouldn't. And there's all this like, well, you could get hurt, or what happens if it doesn't work? And I was like, all right, I'll go find out. And then I realized, okay, well, now you have to figure out the flights. It took me about 6 months. You had to map the route to a flight to the right country so you could get on a plane at the end of the day and go to a next country. And so I decided, okay, the first thing I would do is commit to starting in Australia. I had some really good friends there. And through the time, I realized, okay, I could go Sydney to Singapore, then Singapore to Johannesburg, then Johannesburg to London, London to Sao Paulo, Sao Paulo to LA. So I figured that whole thing out. I bought coach seats in all of those flights. They were all going to be somewhere between 12 and 13 hours a day. And you'd have somewhere between, 11 and 12 hours in the country. Everything had to work perfectly, because if you missed your flight, it was over. Like, it would be all over. So people say I'm too optimistic. I just knew it would work. Like, I don't know. I guess Mercury wasn't in retrograde then.
Yeah, thank goodness.
I only found out about that afterwards. But so we had that all set. And then I decided, okay, I'm going to get people in each of these countries who are my friends, and I'm going to make them captains. And they would pick me up at the airport. So the only thing I want you to do is I want an egg sandwich. I'm vegetarian, but also I will eat eggs. And then a peanut butter sandwich for lunch. And then take me back to the airport. And then give me something to drink.
Wow.
That's what I asked for. So I wrote out this long thing. No one paid attention to anything. They did whatever the heck they wanted. They showed up at the airport, picked me up. And as I got prepared, I was like, how hard could this be? How bad could you feel? How difficult would it be? But fast forward to the end, I never found anything at that low. Like, yeah, I hurt a little bit running. I ran all the marathons sub 4 hours. So I was running, I wasn't just walking and jogging. But I think it was about the mindset going in, that I was like desperately looking for something that would really be hard. And it's not easy, but there were funny moments, LATAM Air didn't want us to fly from London to Sao Paulo because they said you're only staying in the country 12 hours and you should just go straight to LA. We spent 2 hours arguing with them about getting me on the flight, and that kind of stuff happened. But otherwise, I had already flown so much. I've done so many overnight flights. I have run 35 or 40,000 miles by this time in my life. This was all familiar territory. So in some sense, I had trained forever to go do this. So it was a very likely and smart kind of challenge to take on. The part, though, that became the mystery that I didn't know I was stepping into was how much everyone else enjoyed being part of it with me. So when I got to each country, in a sense, they sort of owned it and they took over. And then I just ran. So whether it was getting me from the airport, or it was taking care of me while it was going on, or sometimes people would run with me. Like one time, a guy rode a Razor scooter with me because he wanted to be out there. And everyone sort of felt like they were part of something really special. In Johannesburg, there was a bunch of high schoolers who came out and ran with me because they had never seen anything like this. And so I really enjoyed that mystery that was found, which was that there are people in the world who want to do things with you, to experience it in their way, to feel the same that you might feel. I was very happy for that. I always say the world is full of really a lot of really good people. We sometimes just don't know that until we go out and find that.